Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss the way this week is already going very badly for Brexiteers, as Lee Anderson gets owned in what might be the best Brexit metaphor of the week, even the year. The Express has another go at wangling a Brexit poll they can be proud of, and the EU flag waving at the last night of the Proms ends up provoking such a reaction that it has basically gone full Streisand effect. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel. So, last night of the Proms, a music event that the BBC have run for goodness knows how long. I'm not sure how many people watch it. It's not exactly Eurovision Song Contest popularity, but it's well known. People know about it. But thanks to what is the ideal sort of publicity campaign, many people will know about this year's show. It's customary at the end, when the band are playing various songs intended to be stirring and patriotic, you know, like Land of Hope and Glory in rural Britannia, for people to wave flags. Now, it'll come as no surprise that a lot of these flags tend to be Union flags. But that being said, you do see a variety. You will see flags of other countries. You know, you've seen EU flags in the past. It's been quite normal. If the event hadn't been cancelled last year out of respect for the Queen's death, there would have been a load of Ukrainian flags flown last year. Would people have objected to that? But this year, it's not just that there were some EU flags. A majority of them seemed to be EU flags. Well, the reaction from Brexiteers was quite something. They are demanding heads roll at the BBC. Not entirely sure what the BBC was supposed to do about it, let alone what justification they would have had for stopping the performance, going out into the crowd and forcibly confiscating people's flags when the event is famous for audience members taking in and waving flags. They also seem to be demanding that there be some sort of screening process next year, you know, to stop it happening again. And before I discuss my admiration for this from a publicity point of view, it's worth considering the Streisand effect here. By going absolutely ballistic over this, including amplified coverage in the pro-Brexit media, all they've done is shout to the public that a load of people in something as quintessentially British as the last night at the Proms, you had the audience proudly proclaiming their fellowship with the EU. Doesn't exactly sit with the idea that Remainers are a dying breed and that Brexit is the will of the people, does it? If they'd said nothing, the images and clips would have been shared by pro-EU sources, of course it would, but it wouldn't have gained anywhere near this level of traction. That they've decided to go loopy about it suggests one of two things must be true. First, that they understand perfectly well that the public are increasingly anti-Brexit and pro-rejoin. You know, as I've made the point in the past, the problem is not well connected. There's a lot of people have their views. They don't necessarily know that those views are very, very mainstream now. And something like this makes the idea of support for rejoining mainstream. So Brexiteers attack it as a conspiracy. This would suggest that they feel sufficiently threatened by the move that they want to make sure it can't happen again. Otherwise, why would it be such an issue? The second possibility is that these pro-Brexit papers, like the Telegraph, reported on it not because they want to drive a campaign as such, but because they want the clicks. And this is where the publicity side of it comes in. Interestingly, I've talked a bit about publicity like this in the past in relation to proportional representation. Works well enough for anything, though. What is needed? What do you need? If you want to raise awareness, you need the mainstream media to report on it. But how do you do that if it's for a cause that the mainstream media doesn't want to support? The Rejoin March in a couple of weeks, for example, be a huge event, be loads of people there. I'll be there. You'll be there. But you won't find much in the mainstream media. That is because they don't want to report on it. So how to make them want to report on things like this? One way is to do something that they will be forced to report on. As Extinction Rebellion once did, Just Stop Oil do now. The problem is that those particular methods end up providing excuses for the government to legislate to make something worse by turning public opinion against it. The other way is to do something that the mainstream media will find value in reporting on, because it gets those clicks. They need to make money. They're struggling to make money. That means they need clickbait. The last night at the Proms was, I think, such an example. Being clear, that huge number of flags was not because it was infiltrated by a massive anti-Brexit campaign. There were anti-Brexit campaigners there, but it seems that the major work was giving out EU flags for free outside the venue. That's what I've seen reported anyway. Now, that would mean that people not directly connected to the campaign still nonetheless happily took the flags and happily waved them during the performance. That's how it ended up being such a large number on show. Superb bit of publicity. And it's hard to see where Brexiteers really go with the outrage. The Tories may still be in power for next year's event, so in theory they could, get on this platform and do something about it. But would they really force the Royal Albert Hall to enforce a policy of allowing in flags from all over the world, but not EU flags? I'll tell you something that would be some publicity in itself. If that happened, that would be a story in itself. How much easier to show the fascist behaviour of Brexiteers than in showing, the fascist behaviour of Brexiteers. But although this was the best Brexit story so far, I think there were a couple of others that raised a smile. Lee Anderson, poor hapless Lee Anderson, walked into a bit of a cell phone. It's quite superb, really. It seems that poor old Leanderthal was in the market for a car recently. Maybe he was making sure he had one that was ULEZ compliant, So according to a tweet of complaint, he bought one from a dealership in Derby 6 weeks ago. And it's been in the repair shop for 4 weeks, he says. He says he's only had one call from them about it. Whenever he tries to get in touch, he can never get an update from anyone. Now, fair enough, this is an absolutely shocking case of customer service. Absolutely appalling. No doubts about it, and I'm certainly not going to suggest he's making a fuss about nothing. I'd be furious as well. He's got every right to be furious. But someone put a lovely Brexit spin on it for him. Henry Morris, formerly the secret Tory, said, "Nice Brexit metaphor, Lee. You were sold something that didn't work, and the people that did it are mugging you off and carrying on as if everything is fine. This is my new favourite. Until the next one, anyway." And finally, the Express are having another go at convincing their readers that people like Brexit. They're running a poll again. They keep running these polls. They do them all the time to ask if there should be a referendum on rejoin the EU or something similar, something like that. They're at it again. This time, they're just asking if there should be a sexy Brexit referendum. No, they haven't asked that one yet. A second Brexit referendum, without really bothering to say what the referendum question would be. At the time I submitted my response, it was 72% saying yes, 28% saying no. Typically, when these polls go tits up, and they've always gone tits up, the Express will claim that Remainers cheated by filling in the poll, which is clearly intended only for Brexit supporters. Maybe they'll mix it up this time. Maybe the fact that it's not very specific, it's just a Brexit referendum, doesn't say what it's about. Maybe they can actually try and say this time, yes, the reason why it's so strong support for it is because actually, it's Brexit supporters saying yes, just so that we can shut the Remainers up when stay out wins by a landslide. Fine, I'll be up for putting that to the test. But all in all, this week not going well for Brexiteers. And it's only Monday. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, please click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, the join button for memberships. And until next time, I'll see you later.